And you're very welcome back to the Agriland tent here at the National Ploughing Championships in Screggan in Tullamore in County Offaly. Delighted to be joined here on the stage now by Pheilim Molloy, who is the newly elected president of the Irish Natura and Hill Farmers Association, and also by Cillian Curley, who is a young farmer from County Sligo. Lads, thanks so much for joining us here on the stage in the Agriland tent. Pheilim, how are you finding ploughing so far?
Yeah, well, I haven't spent much time at it because unfortunately I just got here earlier today. But no, I'm very impressed with the crowd, and obviously people are engaging, and it is a good opportunity for people to meet up, discuss different issues, and engage. So I think it's actually working out okay.
Yeah, Cillian, how often have you come to the ploughing before today?
This is my first time today, actually. So
your first time at the ploughing. What do you make of it all?
Oh, it's really enjoyable now, seeing all the stalls and tractors and stuff.
Yeah, and there's a big crowd of young people, because what we're talking about over these few days is the future of farming, Cillian, and there's a lot of young people here on site, and I'm sure you know a lot of young farmers at home as well, do you?
I do, I know a good few back home, yeah, and myself included, so...
Yeah, and do you think there's an appetite amongst the young people to keep farming and to keep going in rural Ireland?
I think there is, yeah, but a lot of people are going away from it because they don't see a living in it in the future.
Okay, right. Well, we might come back to that in just a little while and about the home farm and everything like that. But Pheilim, as I said, you're new in the job, new in the top job. We would have spoken to Vincent Roddy previously as president of INHFA. I suppose, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a Donegal man.
I'm a Donegal man, yeah. We actually farm sheep just outside Letterkenny, Glen in our parish. Now, I've been involved in different community projects down the years. I was a trade union representative for a number of years. I would have been involved in a number of campaigns locally in relation to landfills and that, where there was Donegal County Council actually were proposing to develop a landfill adjacent to our home. And we had major concerns about it because of the fact that from a pollution perspective. Okay. So I was also involved in the GAA at various levels, team manager. I would have been club chairperson, so development, so a whole range of community activities down the years.
Yeah, and how do you find farm politics? It's tough.
I've been involved now for the last number of years actively with the Irish Natura and Hill Farmers Association. So, we have a great system of development policy that are actually designed to suit the farming systems that our members would actually deploy. So from that point of view, I think it's very important that you have, from a representational point of view, that you have a good contact with your members on the ground, so that they're very much involved in policy formation. And I think it's critical to have that bond right from the ground up to officers at national level.
And when we talk about policy, obviously the next common agricultural policy, the next CAP, I mean, that's where it's at, Pheilim. That's what's going to be crucial for our farmers, our young farmers like Cillian here on stage, and looking to the future beyond 2027.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's a very early stage in the whole process. Now, we're actually involved in the CAP Consultative Committee. The proposals were released earlier on in the summer there, and it's only now when workers are going back after holidays that we're getting into detailed discussions in relation to the shape of the new CAP. But I think it's critically important that the sheep sector and the suckler sectors are actually protected, and that the small family farm type of agriculture that would be practiced in the most parts of the country, that is actually defended. And that is one thing that was actually brought out. There was a document produced early on in the year. It was called the Strategic Dialogue on the Future of EU Agriculture. And it did highlight the important role that small farmers do actually play, not alone from their own point of view, but from an economic point of view, and the remote areas from an economic and social. So that is something that we actually will be very much focusing on.
And did that give you heart that in Brussels and, at the heart of the European Union, that they're seeing the value of small family farms and protecting them? Because obviously in Ireland, it's a crucial part of our agriculture model here, but right across Europe, there are small farmers right across the block.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And, that is going to be one of our core policy as we go forward now with the CAP Consultative Committee, that we would actually have a system put in place that supports, as I say, not alone just the farmers in those rural areas, but there's a huge spin-off from an employment point of view arising out of farming activity. Because quite honestly, if you just look at the income that's generated, it's actually going right throughout the community. It's not just going into the farmer's pocket, but a lot of that money is spread right throughout the community.
It's that ripple effect,
Small
businesses,
all sorts of businesses. There was a report done a number of years ago, and it was in relation to the Rural Development Programme. And one of the findings there was that the benefit of a payment going to a farmer could be found within 35 kilometres of the recipient's address. So quite clearly that demonstrates that the absolute critical role that the farming plays in the economic life in our type of areas.
Yeah. Right, Cillian, I'm going to bring you in here. Can you tell us a little bit about the farm? Where in Sligo are you based?
We're based in Turtlestrand. We're sheep farmers, horny sheep. Yeah.
Is it hill sheep or lowland or
Hill sheep?
Hill sheep.
Yeah.
Is that a tough gig?
It's tough enough, but you get used to it,
Yeah. And how's the year been so far with your flock?
It's been good. Not too many got sick or anything. We've kept them dosed. Lambing was tough. A lot of them were lost in lambing. Foxes took a good few of them.
Okay.
But we got on all right this year.
Yeah. And is it the whole family is involved with the farm at home?
A good few of the family, yeah. My grandfather, myself, father, a lot of people.
Yeah, and look, hill sheep farming, it's one of those areas that we often talk about. What young people are going to want to go up the hills chasing sheep. You're one of them.
Yeah.
And do you see your future in farming, Cillian?
I do, but I think the way it's going, there's not a long-term living in farming. So I think many people can only go part-time with work, which is not healthy with the work-life balance. You don't want to be working all the time. You want to have time for leisure and stuff.
So having that off-farm job, but then you have to come home and you have to go lambing, or you have to do dosing, or you have to do whatever foot bathing that has to be done at home then as well. So, and in terms of, I suppose we're talking there just with Pheilim about Europe and all of that. Do you feel as a young farmer that the politicians over in Europe and maybe our politicians here at home, are they listening to young farmers? Do you think they're tuning in now to the fact that we need to make sure that young farmers can be supported?
I think they are, but not sure really,
Yeah, and it's, I suppose, for young people as well, like you said it there earlier, Cillian, that there's a lot of other routes that you can go down, you know what I mean? I'm not sure what year are you in school now?
I'm in transition year.
So you're in transition year. Yeah. So like your leaving cert will be in 2 years, and, there's a lot of other options for young people and for people in your class as well, as you said, people from farms, it's hard to kind of to sell it to them, but we need to sell it to people because we need people to produce our food.
Yeah, absolutely. With no farmers, you have no food, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Pheilim, I suppose we'll come back to more national issues because the budget is coming up, and we had Minister Martin Hayden in here yesterday, and obviously he launched a generational renewal plan here, and it was an announcement today about ANC payments as well. But I suppose we're looking ahead to what the minister is going to deliver for farmers on a national level. Obviously, there's constraints when it comes to CAP, and funding has been allocated, maybe those direct payments from Europe. But when it comes to what the minister can do for farmers here in this country and this budget for budget 2026, what's the INHFA looking for?
We actually, the ANC payment is an absolutely critical payment for most of the farms and those disadvantaged areas, because it's a very simple payment to draw down. Now, we have made proposals to the government that there would actually be extra funding allocated to the ANC payments, and we're just hoping that he might actually deliver on that. We're also looking for increased supports for the sheep and the suckler sectors. Now, it has to
And when
be,
you say increased supports, what does that actually mean?
you know, it has to be acknowledged at the moment prices are good, but we don't know, because of the volatility that exists in the agricultural area, maybe in a year's time things wouldn't be good. So, the schemes that are put in place, from a farmer's point of view, there's too much red tape attached to them. A lot of farmers, you just look at the SCEP, a lot of farmers actually maybe didn't apply, or they withdrew because of the conditions that were attached. So we need to see those schemes simplified as well, and more money to be put into the pot to actually pay money to the farmers that will actually compensate them for the costs of rearing those animals. So, as from the sheep sector, we're looking for extra payments and the sheep improvement scheme and the sheep welfare scheme. So those are the kind of areas that would actually be critical in a few years, or even in a year's time, that the prices will be. So therefore you need that background support to just drive on the suckler sector, because it's been seen from the figures, there's a huge drop off now and the suckler herd in that. And that,
do you think that all ties into why we are seeing that spike in beef prices, the supply and demand issues, because the herd is shrinking? Yeah,
not alone, it's actually shrinking in Ireland, but worldwide there's actually a shrinkage as well in the suckler herd. So obviously that's going to result in increased prices for the consumer. So if we want to have cheap food policy, we have to support the farmers to produce that food, and that's critical as we move forward.
And we're talking about beef, I suppose, like Mercosur and that Mercosur trade agreement, and the European Union looks gung-ho when it comes to Mercosur, Pheilim. And do you think we're looking like that's going to be ratified, or do you think that Ireland will be able to get enough on side with? I'm not sure what's going on in France at the moment. We had an ally, but I'm not sure with politics over there at the moment.
No, one worrying aspect of this whole Mercosur trade agreement is the way now that the ratification has actually been split, because the trade side of it, which the beef market, that will actually be under that trade side. And the European Union now have gone the majority voting system. So in other words, 55% of the countries of Europe, representing 65% of the population, vote in favour of it. It's then carried. It doesn't actually revert back to the national government. And that would be an issue of concern. If this whole programme is so beneficial, it's a bit hard to understand why they've gone that route, but quite clearly, that's a policy decision they've taken. The implications of that, there's some commentators will say that it's not going to have a massive impact on the beef market in Europe. But
so these 99,000 tonnes, when it comes down to overall production, overall consumption, is it going to have a big impact? But for Ireland,
the point about that is that 99,000 tonne is actually prime cuts. And what's happening is that there's a comparison being done to the overall carcass market within Europe. But that 99,000 tonne of prime cuts will actually hit the top end of the beef market in Europe.
Yeah, and did you take any solace from the European Union did kind of say, look, we're listening to farmers, we've addressed their concerns, and the safeguards that they're saying that they'll put in place, that, if member states raise a red flag and say, right, this trade deal is causing a disruption to the market, it's hurting a member state, that we will take action. Do you have faith in that, in those safeguards?
Well, at the moment, we don't have any great detail around that whole proposal, and until such time as it's detailed and you can see what measure they're actually going to put in place, we'd be fit to give a better judgment on it at that stage. But as things stand at the moment, it's a statement that has been put out there, but we don't have any major detail. And obviously, the devil is going to be in the detail when that actually is produced by the Commission.
Yeah, and I suppose in terms of the safeguards are one thing, but they're saying there's a fund there as well that will compensate farmers. But as you said, how that's going to work in practice is crucial too.
Yeah, and then, again, there's no great detail on it, and we'll just have to wait and see. And obviously, the concerns that have been expressed about it, to a certain extent, have been taken on board. But how to resolve those concerns as what the big challenge is going to be into the future.
To finish up, Pheilim, I suppose we're talking about the future of farming, as I said here all this week in the Agriland tent at the National Ploughing Championships. The Generational Renewal Report, the Commission on Generational Renewal, they published their report yesterday. There's 30-odd recommendations in that the Minister has to take on board. And what was your reaction to that report? Have you had a chance to go through it?
I just briefly read it last night. I didn't get any chance to go through it in detail. But there's just one thing I think that's very important, and it needs to be looked at, and that is how young people are actually enticed into the farming industry. My feeling is that there should be more involvement, say, at both national school and secondary level. You know, it would be very simple for, say, to just have a polytunnel at our schools. So at least you instill, you know, in the younger population, the importance of producing food. Because unfortunately, people go through the educational system and they don't have any great understanding of where food comes from. So I think we need to instill that in the younger age groups. And then you will get people that are interested in the agriculture and farming industry to progress into farmers in the future. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at. But as regards to proposals, you know, access to land is one thing that has been mentioned. But if you just look at what's happening at the moment, I mean, the government are buying up huge tracts of land for national parks rewilding. You know, that is land that's been denied to young people. And we need to have a refocus on what we actually want to achieve. If access to land as a crucial area, let's deal with that. But we can have all the proposals, but until we really get down to the kernel of it, I think we're not going to solve the generational renewal problem.
And Pheilim, from your members' point of view as well, it's starting that conversation as well about succession and everything. It's not an easy conversation to have. It's a tricky conversation. And in some cases, people might not have a successor, an obvious successor as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, that's the reality in a lot of situations where there isn't a successor there. So that's where I think we need to look to the government maybe to put schemes in place or systems in place to actually deal with that. And, you know, we had the Land Commission in the past. I know that was disbanded a number of years ago, but there is a model there that could actually be used to try and transition from, say, an elderly farmer to a young farmer. And
well, we have the Land Mobility Service as well, and I know that they're making more moves to, you know, improve it in that area as well, and link up farmers as well. And I suppose, Cillian, is that something you find as well, that if farmers, young farmers, maybe want to get involved in farming, it's to get a farm is very tricky.
That's the hard part, to get the farm. But yeah, just getting the farm from inheritance off your parents, that's the only way really now.
Yeah, and that's a hard conversation to have with anybody, I suppose. You know, I don't know, do you have a couple of siblings at home? Or
Yeah, I have 2 siblings at home, yeah.
Yeah, and is there the question of who's going farming or who's not going farming at this stage, or are you a bit young for that yet?
I will bit young for that yet, but I suppose it will be in a few years.
You'll work it out between yourselves as well. Excellent. So thank you so much to Pheilim Molloy, the INHFA president, and to Cillian Curley, a young farmer, a young hill sheep farmer from County Sligo. We wish you all the best, Cillian, into the future. Hopefully we'll see you back here in the Agriland stand in a couple of years' time, and no doubt running a very successful hill sheep farm enterprise, or farming in any of our other enterprises, of course, as well. Pheilim, thank you so much for joining us and talking us through your policy issues as well with INHFA. We're going to go back out onto site.